Hallo Leute, welcome to the 10th video on this channel. As you probably already know from the title of the video, besides speed builds, renders and 2D animation, I will also make tutorials like this one. So let's begin. Today we are gonna make that. At first you open a new Blender file. Press A to select all X to delete. Add an icosphere, scale it with S, then add another icosphere, change the subdivisions to 1. Scale it with S and with G, and then Y, X or Z to choose an axis and then type around 50. Add a turbulence force field, scale it up and change the strength to 12 and the flow to anywhere between 4 and 8. Then go to the icosphere, go to the particle settings and change the number to a pretty high number, something that your computer can handle. Then go down to the render and change halo to object. Then instance object your second icosphere with just one subdivision. Then you can change, you have to turn off gravity, or you can change in the settings from the field weights gravity to 0. Then you have this crazy particle field around your icosphere. Scale your icosphere a little bit down so you have more particle field and less icosphere. And then you can change a few settings if you want, and then take a frame you want the particles to stop. Go to the frame and take the emission end to this frame. Don't worry about these random particles there. If you do the final thing, then they are not there. Then go 50 frames back and keyframe the lifetime and go 1 frame further and change the lifetime to the time you want the simulation to go to the end of your render. And don't forget to set a keyframe. Don't worry about these particles, they are normal. You just have to play it from the beginning to see how they are looking. Now go to the velocity and keyframe the normal velocity on the frame you wanted to stop. Go to the next frame and change the normal velocity to 0. And don't forget the keyframe there. Then go to the keyframe you wanted to stop, keyframe the strength, go to the next keyframe and change the strength to 0. And don't forget the keyframe. It has to be this yellow like color. And then they should stop on the frame you want. Then you can go to the icosphere, go under the particles, go to render, and there you can scale the particles if you like. I would turn them a little bit smaller so they are not so big, and it's a smoother simulation. Then change the background color in the world tab to black so you have good contrast. Then go to the icosphere you use as particle, go to the shading tab, and there you can change the principal shader to the emission shader, and then delete the principal shader, and there you can either just choose a color and then you have colored particles, or you can choose that the particles should change color over time. And for that you have first to add a color ramp. Just type color and choose the color ramp. Take the color output of the color ramp to the color input of the emission shader. Then just search math and take the math node, plug the value and the factor, and then choose from the input the particle info. So you get the infos about your particles. Take the age to the top and lifetime to the bottom, and change add to divide, and then you can change the colors to the colors you like. The color on the left is the first color and the color on the right is the second color. I would pull the left color a little bit further to the right so they change color later. You have to change the render engine to cycles, or either you won't get that color change. So in the second part we are going to make the camera move around our particles, and for that we have to add a Bezier curve. You can change the shape of the Bezier curve in edit mode. And you can just grab with G a point and position it wherever you like. But first we'll need, of course, a camera. Everything the camera sees is in the render, and for that I'll scale the camera down, rotate it on the x-axis, and then just position it. When you're finished, go to the top-down view, take the Bezier curve, go in edit mode, and place the first point of your Bezier curve directly under your camera. Then you can just move the other point, and you can press E to extrude, so you can make another point, and then just make a path. Don't forget to make it 3D so the camera goes up and down a little, but try to make it smooth. And then you can go to the camera and go to this weird button, the object constraint, go to relationship and follow path. As target, take your Bezier curve, and as offset, take the frame your particles stop. Then click on animate path, so the camera will follow the path. Then you have probably to position your camera again, and now you can see, if you play it back, that the camera is just looking in one direction. You have first search the frame where the camera is exactly over the Bezier curve point, and there you can just change the rotation so that the camera is looking at the right angle at your particle simulation. And that you have to make for every point. Now we are going to the rendering. First, check that you're on cycles, or else you won't get that cool changing color. Then go to GPU compute if you have a GPU, or else just choose CPU. But you can just use one sample. If you use more samples, the emission effect is stronger. But one sample is enough. Then you can go to performance, and if you use CPU compute, you can just leave it, or you choose 16x16. That's the best. So if you want it a second faster, then just use 16x16. If you use GPU compute, use 64x64, or you can go even bigger to 128 by 128. But I use CPU compute, so just leave it at normal or use a little bit smaller. And max bounces, you can just use one, that's enough. If you use GPU rendering, then you have to go under Edit, Preferences. Here you can even add add-ons, but now we have to go under System. Now you can see the cycles render devices, and go to CUDA and choose your GPU if you have a GPU. If not, and you use CPU compute, just go to none. Then we can close this window, and now go under Render Animation to render the animation, or you can just press Command, or on Windows I think it's Control F12.